Lightning tears the sky as the mountain crumbles. Surrounded by three immortal titans, Li Taixian stands amidst the thunder, his eyes filled not with fear, but with arrogant contempt. He detonates his soul to drag his enemies into oblivion, only to wake up gasping on a modern airplane seat. The supreme overlord of 3,000 worlds has been reborn on Earth. Trains whistle as Li Xiaofan steps onto the Chuzhou platform. Though his cultivation is gone, the sliver of immortal energy remaining in his body brings a confident smirk to his lips. A phone ring pierces the silence. His girlfriend Chu Qingxuang's screaming voice triggers a flood of humiliating memories. The night he was trampled and broken by Yang Xiaoquan. Nightmares of the past flood his mind. False imprisonment, his father's tragic death, begging on the streets. Despair culminates in the hateful gaze he held right before his suicide. Since fate has granted him a second chance, he vows to rewrite history. Suddenly, danger strikes as his taxi faces a collision. Purple light flashes in his eyes, and he swerves violently. The crash echoes across the highway. As the dust settles, the truck driver stares in horror. The taxi that should have been crushed is empty, as if the driver vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, a louder crash erupts nearby. A blue SUV smashes through the guardrail, dangling precariously over the cliff edge, filled with desperate screams. In the nick of time, Li Xiaofan appears like a phantom, standing firmly on the teetering vehicle. The crowd gasps in disbelief. This is beyond human capability. After saving the Chu family, Xiaofan inwardly curses his weak mortal body. He waves off the old man's gratitude and promises of wealth with cold indifference. The pink-haired girl, Chu Xuelian, insists on repaying the debt. Xiaofan sneers and demands a 100,000-year ginseng to reshape his bones, an arrogant request that freezes the air. Before the Chu family can respond, killing intent strikes. A cold glint flashes from the darkness, but Xiaofan's sharp eyes have already detected the lethal threat. A cyborg assassin roars, lunging to silence the survivors. Xiaofan raises a hand with disdain, unleashing a burst of brilliant blue energy that blasts the killer away. Amidst the dust, Xiaofan's eyes glow with an eerie light, like a descending deity. The Chu family patriarch is shaken to his core. This boy is a legendary grandmaster. Crisis averted, Xiaofan turns to leave, but his gaze locks onto a jade pendant dropping from the old man's chest. It pulses with spiritual energy rare on Earth. Finding a treasure, Xiaofan takes it without hesitation. Claiming the pendant as payment, he declares they are even and walks away, leaving a fuming Xuelian behind. Watching him leave, the grandfather tells his granddaughter, with a grave expression, that the boy's power is unfathomable, comparable even to the legendary war god Long Tianshang. At the White Goose Hotel, his nemesis Yang Xiaoquan waits in the lobby. Arriving late, Xiaofan immediately runs into his furious girlfriend, Chu Qingxuang. Facing Chu's scolding and her friend's mockery, Xiaofan's eyes turn ice-cold. He calls her a harlot to her face. The submissive boy of the past is dead. Walking into the banquet hall surrounded by sneers and judgment, Xiaofan stands alone and arrogant. Watching these oblivious ants, the flames of revenge burn silently in his heart. In the noisy banquet hall, Li Xiaofan smokes alone, isolated from the crowd. Meanwhile, Qin Shuang swallows her pride, forcing a smile as she leans into the arrogant Yang Xiaoquan. Yang Xiaoquan offers a handshake dripping with sarcasm. Li doesn't even flinch, his refusal cutting through the air. "You are beneath me." Rage instantly twists Yang's face. The crowd swarms like locusts, demanding an apology. Li's eyes narrow, cold and sharp. He's done tolerating these ants who dare to offend a god. A lackey barks orders to give up the seat. Li remains immovable as a mountain, scoffing, "Only I am worthy to sit here." Patience exhausted. With a flick of his wrist, purple energy erupts. A supernatural force slams Yang back into his seat before he can utter a word. Suddenly, unholy fire ignites on Yang's trousers. He screams, flailing wildly, spreading the chaos to Qin Shuang as the banquet descends into a farce. Drenched and shivering, they stand in puddles of water. Yang stares at the scorched, shaking chair, confusion warring with a creeping dread of the supernatural. No time to breathe, the room detonates. Glass shatters as a shockwave blasts Yang backward, his screams of pain drowning in the roar of destruction. Panic erupts as they rush the broken air to the hospital. High above, Li Xiaofan watches the ants scurry, smoke swirling around his cold, victorious smile. They thought they were safe, but the nightmare follows. The car explodes in a ball of fire, silencing their relief with a deafening boom. While the streets scream in chaos, Li stands in his tower, savoring the performance. The game has just begun, he whispers, plotting the next act. Elsewhere, Qin Shuang swallows her regret. Lured by vanity, she decides to bury her past and chase the illusion of high society. High above the city, Li hovers like a god. A call comes in from the Chu family. He accepts the invitation, descending gracefully into the neon-lit streets. A rainy street corner. A woman in red approaches under a black umbrella. Her voice drips with honey and danger. "Hey little brother, want to come home with me?" "Run along, little witch." Li sees right through her. The facade drops, instantly roses turn to blades as she unleashes a storm of purple fire. But she attacked a monster. Li's aura expands, crushing her cultivation in a heartbeat. She collapses to her knees, trembling in absolute terror. "You dare challenge a god?" Lightning crackles around him. In the face of his divine wrath, the witch realizes just how insignificant she truly is. Her arrogance shattered, she grovels on the wet pavement, begging for her life. "Mercy! Please, I was wrong. Spare me." A taxi pulls up. The driver leers, but Li's gaze freezes him. Seizing the chance, the battered witch scrambles into the car to escape the monster in human skin. As the taxi speeds away, the witch plots to drain the driver to heal. Li watches the taillights fade, a hunter letting the prey run, for now. On a sunny street, Chu Xuelian leans against her Lamborghini, smiling playfully as she invites Li Xiaofan for a ride, her tone mixing reverence with charm. Inside, Li Xiaofan coldly speaks of karma, but his composure is cut short by Chu Xuelian's terrified scream as sudden danger strikes. With a resigned sigh from Li, the out-of-control taxi smashes into the guardrail, the deafening crash instantly engulfing the street in smoke. Eerie laughter echoes. While Chu Xuelian trembles, Li Xiaofan smiles faintly, dismissing the chaotic mystery woman as a mere clown. Arriving at the Westin, Chu Xuelian goes to park. Li Xiaofan steps into the lavish lobby, only to be rudely blocked by security, freezing the atmosphere. The manager sneers, mocking him as a beggar. Li Xiaofan's gaze turns ice-cold, warning the ignorant mortal with imperial majesty and hidden menace. A rich heir jumps in, pointing fingers and mocking him, sneering that a poor boy doesn't deserve to step foot in this elite club. The blonde woman, flushed with anger, shrilly questions Li's presence, her words dripping with superiority, as if he were a disgusting stain. Just then, Chu Xuelian makes an elegant entrance. Her declaration of Li as a noble guest instantly silences the room, shocking the snobs. Furious, Miss Chu commands the offenders to kneel and slap themselves. The crisp sound of humiliation echoes, a display of absolute power. Under gazes of awe and fear, Li Xiaofan leaves coolly with Chu, leaving behind the closing elevator doors and his stunned, terrified acquaintances. Back in her room, the blonde woman sweats profusely, trying to deny reality, but unable to hide her deep fear of Li Xiaofan's rise. In a private suite, Chu Xuelian humbly begs to be a disciple, but Li Xiaofan sits coldly, dismissing her potential as mediocre without hesitation. For her martial arts dream, Chu Xuelian clenches her teeth, ready to undress, her eyes flashing with desperate resolve and sacrificial courage. Li Xiaofan immediately stops her. Seeing her sincerity, he finally nods to accept her as a disciple in name only, speaking with the master's authority. Gazing at the stars, Li Xiaofan speaks of the distant upper realm, his eyes revealing a profound sorrow and nostalgia no mortal can understand. A phantom from the past appears, an eternal pain in his heart. Even reborn, his longing for his lost love remains etched in his soul. Memories drift to the immortal realm, where Shueshi swung her sword under the sun, striving only to stand by his side, a pure devotion that stings his heart. Across time and space, Li Xiaofan clenches his fist, vowing to return to the peak and find the one waiting for him at the end of time. Chu Xuelian leaves in tears. Silence returns as Li Xiaofan reveals a glowing ring, its faint light holding unfinished destiny and secrets. The spirit stone dims in his hand, its energy completely drained. Li Xiaofan discards it without a hint of discouragement, standing up with an aura of unwavering confidence. Inside the luxury suite, the once arrogant thugs kneel like frightened dogs, begging for mercy. With a cold snort, Li Xiaofan waves his hand, silencing the noise with a blast of energy. Staring at the writhing wretch, flashes of a past life's blood feud ignite in Li Xiaofan's eyes. This is merely the prelude to revenge. He adjusts his suit and strides away into the night. In the darkness, a speeding car nearly strikes the venerable one. Just as Li Xiaofan is about to unleash his fury, he catches a glimpse of a terrified face pleading for help through the shattered window. Meanwhile, the air inside the car is thick with malice. Song Zong approaches with a lecherous grin, while the drugged girl, powerless, shrinks into the corner in despair. Watching the girl scream and struggle only fuels Song Zong's excitement. His twisted laughter echoes in the confined space, severing her last thread of hope. With a sharp rip, fabric tears. Song Zong drops all pretense, his greedy hands reaching for her trembling body, as tears of despair stream down her face. At this critical moment, a dull thud on the window freezes the air. Song Zong pauses, turning to roar in annoyance, unaware that the Grim Reaper stands just outside. Under the shadowy trees, Li Xiaofan stands with a hand in his pocket, coldly uttering a command to leave. The oblivious Song Zong grabs a bat, screaming threats as he charges. With a furious roar, the bat swings down with crushing force. Yet, in this violent instant, Li Xiaofan doesn't even blink, watching as if observing a jumping grasshopper. Crack! Instead of blood, the solid bat shatters in a bare hand. Song Zong's laughter freezes, his pupils dilating as a bone-chilling coldness finally seizes his heart. His arrogance crumbles instantly. Song Zong's legs tremble, and under Li Xiaofan's terrifying pressure, he collapses like sludge, babbling incoherent pleas for mercy. On the rainy cliffside, evil meets its end. Li Xiaofan stands tall, hands behind his back, watching coldly as the luxury car breaks down in the darkness, his heart unmoved. With the danger gone, Chu Xuelian stumbles out of the car, collapsing into the mud as the drugs take effect. Sighing lightly, Li Xiaofan steps toward his disheveled disciple. Moonlight bathes their silhouettes. Facing the disheveled and humiliated girl, Li Xiaofan says nothing, simply taking off his coat to offer her a final shred of dignity. Under warm lights, Chu Xuelian wraps the coat tightly, thanking him with a trembling voice. Li Xiaofan remains impassive, offering protection as her teacher, a cold kindness that stirs her heart. Watching him sleep peacefully on the sofa, a strange sense of security fills her. Soon, morning light breaks, and the city wakes up to the hustle of a brand new day. Speeding in a luxury car, Li Xiaofan hangs up, having secured the aristocratic school. Looking out the window, a cold smirk forms. That snobbish mother and daughter pair have no idea he's returned. Meanwhile, in the courtyard, Chu's mother holds an oil paper umbrella, sharply pressuring her daughter. In the face of money and power, family bonds appear pale and weak. Outside the mansion, lights glimmer in the evening. Before Li Xiaofan can even find his footing, he is met with Mother Chu's cold, snobbish stare and a dismissive remark, "You shouldn't be here." A salary of 2,000? Mother Chu's mockery fires off like a barrage, weighing Li Xiaofan's worth like a cheap commodity and trampling his dignity underfoot. Facing the humiliation, Li Xiaofan sneers. To him, money is dust compared to absolute power. But his words only earn more disdain from Mother Chu, for the VIP has arrived. A black sedan pulls up slowly, and Yang Xiaoquan steps out with an air of arrogance. Seeing the two lackeys behind him, a cold light flashes in Li Xiufan's eyes. His past life's enemies are finally all here. Yang Xiaoquan's casual promise of a luxury car makes Mother Chu beam with joy. But behind the hypocritical pleasantries, the gazes of the two men clash violently, filling the air with the scent of gunpowder. Watching them leave, Li Xiufan stands alone under the starry sky, no longer suppressing his rage. In the darkness, he swears a silent oath. Revenge will be his, no matter the cost. The scene shifts to the campus, where enemies cross paths. Yang Xiaoquan presses forward with his deputy director title, trying to intimidate with authority, unaware that to Li Xiufan, he is nothing but a noisy ant. When Li Xiufan calmly states the truth, "I am the principal," it only provokes Yang Xiaoquan's uncontrollable laughter. He even calls a crowd to witness this colossal joke. To thoroughly teach Li Xiufan a lesson, Yang Xiaoquan feigns gentleness and sends the two women away. As they leave, the final layer of pretense is torn away. Without restraint, Yang Xiaoquan reveals his fangs, viciously ordering Li Xiufan to kneel and bark like a dog, his eyes burning with a malice that threatens to swallow his victim whole. Just when Yang Xiaoquan thinks victory is assured, Li Xiufan explodes into action from the brink of humiliation. With a cold shout, the tables turn instantly. The hunter becomes the hunted. The scene shocks everyone. Seeing their young master hoisted up like a chick, the two thugs finally snap out of it and charge forward with angry roars. Facing the siege, Li Xiufan stands his ground, his eyes erupting with terrifying purple lightning. It is the aura of a supreme being, warning mortals against their transgression. A terrifying aura explodes, like a storm, as Li Xiufan blocks the so-called expert's attack with a single hand. In the face of absolute power, all resistance seems utterly laughable. "You're a cultivator too?" The thug realizes in horror that he's kicked an iron plate, while Li Xiufan merely sneers. In his grasp, the enemy is nothing but a lamb awaiting slaughter. The heavily injured thug tries to negotiate for mercy, but Yang Xiaoquan, having lost all control, screams hysterically, "Kill him! I don't accept negotiations. Kill him! In the past life, you took my arm. In this life, I break yours." Amidst thunder and rain, accompanied by the crisp sound of snapping bones, Li Xiufan coldly fulfills his vow of revenge. Next is the other enemy. Li Xiufan closes in like a phantom, his mind filled only with the agony of his stolen kidney from the past. "This strike is for my kidney." A scream instantly pierces the sky. Having dealt with the lackeys, Li Xiufan looks down on Yang Xiaoquan like a judging god. The game has just begun. "Now kneel and kowtow to me." That heavy stomp completely shatters Yang Xiaoquan's last shred of dignity. The once arrogant rich boy can now only tremble in fear, letting out a desperate wail. Inside the luxury car, Mother Chu relentlessly belittles the poor boy, trying to brainwash her daughter. But in a split second, the scene outside the window strikes like a thunderbolt, shattering her arrogant mask. Outside the mansion, the once arrogant Master Yang kneels, like a stray dog, begging for mercy. Just as Li Xiufan relishes crushing his enemies, a terrified scream pierces the air. Qin Shuang has arrived. Facing Qin Shuang's interrogation, Li Xiufan's lips curl into a cruel smile. Instead of stopping, he grabs Xiaoquan by the jaw, forcing the former young master to showcase his talent like a pig. Qin Shuang stands on the moral high ground, righteously demanding an apology. Hearing the word apology, Li Xiufan looks as if he's heard the world's biggest joke, his eyes colder than the biting autumn wind. Rain falls mixed with cold sneers as Li Xiufan stomps viciously on Xiaoquan's back. "Did you ever apologize when you were on top in the past life? Now, only humiliating squeals can quell this millennial rage." In the mud, Xiaoquan lets out a heart-wrenching squeal, his dignity completely crushed. Yet, his bloodshot eyes burn with insane hatred, swearing a toxic oath. "Li Xiufan, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death." Leaving the carnage behind, Li Xiufan answers his father's call. To mask the bloodshed, he awkwardly forces a laugh, hiding his deepest attachment to family beneath this warm lie. Hanging up, the smile vanishes from Li Xiufan's face, replaced by endless grief and rage. Remembering his father's suicide from humiliation in his past life, he swears to the falling leaves, this life, history will not repeat itself. Stepping into the school office, the snobbish director Ma immediately asserts dominance, demoting him to a warehouse manager. Facing this naked hostility and threat, Li Xiufan doesn't rage, but instead reveals a playful smile. Catching the insulting warehouse keys, Li Xiufan turns to leave. The moment he pushes open the warehouse doors, a familiar figure appears with a hearty laugh. It's his best friend from his past life. The joy of reunion lasts barely 2 seconds before Director Ma's roar interrupts again. Seeing his friend Qiufei scolded because of him, a cold glint flashes in Li Xiufan's eyes. This debt is now recorded. In the corridor, Qiufei bitterly jokes about his wasted talent and mentions Qin Shuang's snobbery. Li Xiufan smiles contemptuously. For the woman who betrayed him, only one word remains in his heart: harlot. Seeing his friend bowed by reality, Li Xiufan suddenly announces, "I will make you vice principal." Qiufei laughs it off as a joke, unaware that this promise carries the weight of 1,000 gold bars. Meanwhile, outside a rainy Japanese courtyard, crippled henchmen cry miserably to the house within. In the shadows, a suffocating and terrifying aura is slowly awakening. Learning that Li Xiufan not only crippled his men, but also insulted him, the hidden boss laughs in extreme rage. His sword trembles violently, purple gold lightning illuminating his hideous intent to kill. Boom! Terrifying sword energy instantly splits the air. The boss, exploding with rage, orders an immediate investigation into the arrogant brat, vowing to tear him to pieces to vent his hatred. The scene shifts to the luxurious Tianlong Hotel, where Chu Xuelian and her grandfather are busily preparing for the new principal's appointment ceremony. This grand event is all to welcome Li Xiufan's ascension. During their chat, Grandpa suddenly mentions the returning military prodigy, Lei Yuntian. Facing this prominent marriage prospect, Chu Xuelian's eyes hold only businesslike calm, void of any romantic affection. Despite Xuelian's firm stance, the worry on Grandpa's brow lingers. What he truly fears is not Lei Yuntian, but the nightmare-like terror standing behind that young man, the Dragon Sky sect. Under the falling autumn leaves, Li Xiufan surveys the noble academy. His eyes gleam as he senses the auspicious energy, a faint, knowing smile playing on his lips, as if a hunter claiming his territory. A sudden notification shatters the calm. The new principal will be named. While the crowd fawns over Yang Xiaoquan, Li Xiufan smirks with absolute confidence, watching the ignorant fools who have no idea who their true master is. Enemies collide. Yang Xiaoquan screams threats of revenge, face twisted in fury, but Li Xiufan walks past him like he's air. Only a hysterical female shriek makes him pause, turning back with a gaze cold enough to freeze blood. "What is it, harlot?"